Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. And today we're going to get into another question to the channel. And this is actually from a discussion with a female who was just kind of trying to get an understanding of what is, when it comes to like finding a man in as far as like, attraction level. And she was informed that women are not really that attractive. Actually, I had this discussion was also brought up with another male as well, and just kind of enlightening him in regards to the fact that women are not very considered that attractive in general to what they may think that they are. Obviously, there's their real level, and then there's, the level that some guys will hype them up at. And the reason why we got into discussion is in regards to like finding like the right kind of guy, a little bit of advice tidbit for women. So this video really is kind of shout out to the women, trying to provide a little bit of educational advice. There's a lot of guys who run around and they're just kind of like looking for one thing. They're feeling really horny and they're trying to get one thing. You have to understand that if a guy's horny doesn't make you more attractive just because he's horny. The truth is that most women's attraction level is average. And as the late great Kevin Samuels had mentioned before, is that, most women are just average, and there's nothing wrong with average, but you can be very attractive to a guy and still be average. Average just means that that's the majority. So if I was to say, I like to look at it in the way like comparing TVs. If, we're in the era of, where 720p just comes out and everyone's like, yeah, 720p looks really good because we're coming from those old tube TVs. And you're like, well, 720p looks really, really nice. Cool. And it's rare at the time. So it's cool. That looks good. But once 720p is in everyone's home, it doesn't matter how good it looks. It's average because it's the majority. So once something's the majority, it is now average. And so at that point, you're like, okay, well, now you got to one up that. You got to be 1080p to be looking good. So the point of it is that whatever's the majority is average. Now, if you take the average guy walking around the streets, and this is the case in most big cities, and I can't really necessarily reflect on, some of the smaller towns, but, a person would have to just evaluate that scene and kind of figure out what the vibe is there. But for the most part, in a lot of big cities, you have guys who will turn their heads for almost everything that's moving. And 2 seconds later, they look down the street, they see an attractive female. 2 seconds after that, they see another female that's attractive. They're trying to scream and holler at them. That person that passed 2 minutes ago was not this super hot attractive thing, or otherwise they wouldn't even be talking to the next thing that walks by. They would still be focusing their time on the original thing. It's just about what happens to come walking by, which means you're not that attractive. It's just that the guy is just really horny. And I say that it's not about putting somebody down, but it's more so about understanding what your real attraction level is, so that way you can find the right person and not be thrown off your radar with understanding what it is that you're able to get. Kind of harkening back to a video I did recently with market value. And so essentially you one thing that some women never really do is compare themselves to the next person over from them. They kind of live in sometimes inside the bubble of thinking just my looks versus the attention that I get. But I want to just enlighten you with the fact that, similar to the TV analogy, if you're looking at your TV at home and you go, I got this TV, we'll say it's 1080p. And you're like, I like it. It looks good, right? Because there's nothing else to compare it to. Then you go to Best Buy and you see all the TVs on the rack next to each other. They're all 1080p. But you start seeing some of them look better than the others. Some of them have a better contrast. Some of them have better colors. Some of them look better in this way, that way. And you start going, well, not all 1080p is the same. But now that I look them next to each other, I see the difference. And now the other ones that I don't want, I'm not going to choose them because I can only leave this store with one. So I'm going to choose the one I want most. And men operate in that way when it comes to selection. If you're the only female in the room, you're the only one I'm looking at because you're the only one there. If there's a bunch of females in the room and I know I can only leave with one, and I know I can only leave with one because most of the time you're going to see me talking to the other one, so I only got one shot to talk to one, I'm going to talk to the one I really want to talk to, not settle for the one that like you're just here at the moment. And that's an important thing. A lot of women don't like being around other women when they're around men because they don't like the idea of there being that competition. But this is important. It's very healthy for you to have an idea of what your true value is, your true attraction value, your true market value is in the dating world. So that way you do not overshoot and try to take someone who's not going to be good for you because they're only going to end up using you. And the point of that is not about putting the woman down. It's about making sure she doesn't get with someone who's going to use her. Because if you are significantly below another guy's attraction level in all aspects, he's going to just simply use you. He's not going to want anything from you other than just to have fun. And you need to know that and not just start saying to yourself, well, I think I could have that in a fairy tale kind of moment. And Prince Charming, he's going to be this when he clearly is not. So a great way to understand that is, if you want to talk to a guy, one of the greatest things a woman can do, and most of them are not going to want to do this, but the greatest thing you could do if you want to be, if you're a woman and you want to say if some guy's going to approach you, this and that, you want to know if some guy's looking at you from a distance, whatever the case is, stand next to another woman and that guy will have to choose, or be in a social environment where there's more than one woman. Sometimes people are in the workplace, and you're the only woman who works at that workplace, and everyone else is like, okay, it's just a bunch of men, and they're all looking at you. They're bigging you up. It feels good because they're all looking at you, but that's because there's no other selections there. If you put yourself in an environment where there's other selections, if that person still chooses you, then you could say, well, hey, this is probably where my real market value is. And even then, it doesn't guarantee it. But for the most part, it gives you a better sense of what your market value is, what your true attraction level is. If you are just in a place by yourself, and a lot of women sometimes like that, they don't like having other women revolve around their circle of men or friends of men. And when I say that of their men, I mean in a sense, like if you're the only woman working in workspace and you're the only woman and you have a bunch of male friends there that revolve around you because there's no other women there, an example like that. So I don't want to say it like, oh, these are your men, you're messing with these men, not like that, but just a collection of friends that a lot of women sometimes don't want other women around because they feel like those men are going to now gravitate to the other woman. And they don't like losing their attention, whether they're going to admit it or not. But the men know this to be true, and they know they've seen this before and going to say, yeah, that's right. For the women, it's actually better when you're in that kind of situation, because though you may lose the attention of some men, it will leave the ones who actually find you more appealing will stay and more talk to you than they will the other person. And the more women you have in a room, the more you weed out who really wants to talk to you. Now, a lot of women sometimes it's harsh on their egos to feel like, well, I don't want to feel rejection or that men want to talk to someone else rather than me. But if you've got like 10 men in a room and you got 10 women in a room, and if those 10 men, and it will say there's one female here, we're going to call her Amanda. If Amanda has out of those 10 guys, only 2 of them are talking to her now or 1 of them are talking to her because all the rest of the guys were looking at some other girl there that looks really good, it's better for her because now she's getting true attention and not false attention because she's the only woman there. Whereas if she's the only woman there and all 10 guys is gawking around her, that's very bad because it might boost her ego. But 1, it makes her think her market value is higher than what it is. And 2, most likely those guys only like her because she's the only one around. But the moment they go somewhere else, they see someone better looking, they're like, okay, I don't want Amanda anymore. I may just keep it alone for a while, but I really don't want her. So, like I said, this is just for informational purposes to let women know, hey, try to find out what your real attraction level is, but just know you're not that attractive. Generally speaking, you're probably average. And just keep that in mind. It's food for thought. And with that being said, I'll catch you guys in the next video.